What I can say from the number and background of the defense witnesses, it is very obvious that the defendants chose, two of the defendants who led the evidence, Kadri Veseli and Hashim Thaçi, went for policy witnesses, high-level witnesses who could testify about their intent, in fact, lack of criminal intent. And why is it important? In criminal cases, both sides, starting with prosecution, need to lead the evidence about criminal acts, which is called actus reus evidence, what crimes actually happened, are they proven, how one proves them. And once you have a crime, you need to see who did it and why individuals indicted did it. And it's called criminal intent or mens rea evidence. Obviously, defense chose not to challenge whether the crimes happened or not. They accepted that the crimes happened in Kosovo, but in choosing the defense witnesses, they basically say, but we are going to concentrate on the fact that we did not have criminal intent and we are not responsible for any crimes that might have happened as alleged in the indictment. And I think it's a very, very smart way to present defense evidence. Justice system is interesting because this first instance judgment, you know that both sides have opportunity to appeal it. Obviously, if the judgment would be acquittal, prosecution will probably appeal it and we will go into appeal part of the trial. So if the first instance judgment is rendered next year, if they are acquitted or if they are convicted of something, we can expect that at least some of the that our prosecution or defense or part of defense will appeal the judgment. So they are going to stay on. In some miraculous scenario, this is scenario one, that would be acquitted and none of the parties will appeal, which is quite difficult to envisage because every legal system goes to the last remedy, and this is appeal. Would probably be 40%, and the fact that they are convicted and both prosecution and defense appeal is another 40%. So in this way, I told you what sort of, if you would be going betting for it, it would be very difficult to win this bet. Why this judgment would be of a much greater importance than just the legal outcome for these four defendants is the follows. Kosovo War was a subject of legal determination at Yugoslavia Tribunal, so-called ICTY, International Criminal Tribunal from Yugoslavia. And at that tribunal, unlike Kosovo specialist chambers, for Kosovo conflict, war, both sides were indicted. Serbian side and Kosovo Albanian side, that will say UÇK leaders, 6 of them in 2 different trials, Haradinaj et al. Trial and Fatmir Limaj trial. For Serb side, Slobodan Milošević was indicted, Lastimir Đorđević in 2 separate trials, and then in Milutinović et al., 5 defendants. And Milošević died. Milutinović, president of Serbia at that time, was acquitted. And all other Serb indictees indicted for crimes of Kosovo have been found guilty and sentenced to very high prison sentences of 20 years and above. By ICTY, that Kosovo Albanians form joint criminal enterprise with the common purpose to do harm to Serbs. And the crime of this one indictee has been qualified as isolated incident. So ICTY, in absolutely clear terms, showed that it could make difference between aggressor, Serb and Yugoslav security forces doing crimes against Kosovo civilian population in the period from 98 to 99. And that Kosovo Albanians self-organized themselves, defending themselves, and in a process, individuals committed crimes. What Kosovo Specialist Chambers now can do by its verdict next year in Thaçi et al. Case is to say, for example, to determine that Kosovo Albanians organized in UÇK were part of joint criminal enterprise. And that would equalize historically and politically their role with the role of Serb security forces. And all of you in Kosovo, even if you are younger generation born after 1999, were brought up by the stories about the war. You know by yourself that it cannot be true. And yet this court can impose this sort of narrative on all of you and the rest of the world, and it will resonate in political and historical narrative because Serbian side would not wait to be able to include it in their accounts of the past in order to exculpate themselves, to make their crimes less than they were, because they will be relative to the crimes Kosovo Albanian forces like UÇK, FARC is not now part of the story, but any self-organized armed group of Kosovo Albanians that defend in their homes, their villages, their streets, families, they would be actually put in this sort of equation. And this is why this court, Kosovo Specialist Chambers, needs to be taken very seriously, beyond the fate and what is happening to individuals. It will affect the qualification of your liberation war and your freedom as you have it now.